What's going on, guys? So you are in for a very interesting video because in front of you, you are looking at two trucks that are very similar in some ways, yet very different in other ways. And we're going to go over the similarities and differences between these two very high-spec four-wheel drive diesel-equipped half-ton pickup trucks. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so first and foremost, we've been spending a week with this brand new 2025 Chevy Silverado LT package. This is a crew cab truck with the Z71 off-road package in a Trailboss configuration. This has the 3-liter LZO Duramax diesel inside of it, and this is the newest iteration of Chevrolet's Silverado half-ton lineup. Absolutely beautiful truck. I love the accents, I love the color, I love the trim, I love the black on red or the red on black. It is really a beautiful truck, and they've done a great job giving this a really aggressive look, as well as just integrating some great details into the overall look, including the headlights, the shape. It's a very sophisticated looking truck, and I love what they've done. Next to it, you have our 2023 GMC Sierra Denali 1500 pickup truck, also a four-wheel drive truck, and it has the 3-liter LZO diesel engine in it as well. Now, the claim to fame about both of these power plants is that they are absolutely great in terms of fuel economy. They both sip diesel. They do a great job of getting you a tremendous amount of distance to one full tank of fuel. And on average, you can get about 600 to 750 miles per tank on these trucks, which is really insane. It's a great value to opt for this engine if this is something that you're considering, especially considering the power, the acceleration, the towing, the capability that you get out of this diesel in a full-size pickup truck format while still giving you really great fuel economy. That said, the GMC is going to get slightly better fuel economy, not because it's a GMC, but because it is not as aggressive. It doesn't sit as high off of the ground. They both share the same wheels and tire package. Well, the wheels are the same size, definitely a different wheel, but the tires are identical. The size of the tires are also identical, but because the Trailboss sits a few inches taller, it definitely has a far more aggressive stance. It almost makes me want to lift the GMC up a couple of inches. But that said, again, whenever you look at these two, the GMC is going to have slightly better fuel economy, mainly because it sits a little bit lower to the ground. With this truck, it sits a little higher, and that's actually going to make the fuel economy numbers go down just a hair, about 2 miles per gallon. So again, both of them get in the mid to upper 20 mile per gallon range whenever you are on the highway, and they both get in the mid to lower 20 mile per gallon range whenever you're in the city. This one just gets a slightly lower number because it's more aggressive and it sits up higher. Now, whenever you look at both of these trucks, if you're shopping, price-wise, they're going to be kind of similar, but a little different. So the Chevy is going to have an MSRP slightly under $70,000. The GMC is going to have an MSRP slightly over $74,000. So there's roughly a $4,000 and change difference between these two trucks in favor of the GMC, at least on the premium side, and the Chevy costing a little bit less. But what does that get you, right? Are you able to get all the same features in the Chevy for that price as you would the GMC? And some of those features are definitely going to change. So what you get in the Chevy for that price are Rancho shocks, a slightly more aggressive stance, tires that are off-road based, which are essentially, again, the same tires that you're going to get on the GMC truck. This is a Z71 Trailboss package, again, with the 3-liter LZO Duramax diesel. All LED lighting up front. The back pretty much is all LED lighting, except for one light, and that is going to be your reverse light. The reverse light back here is still incandescent, but everything else is LED. Whenever we look at the GMC, everything's going to be LED, front and back, headlights, taillights, turn signals, reverse lights, everything is LED. But the changes really take place when you look at the interior. Both have a multi-purpose style tailgate. You have the multi-flex tailgate on the Chevy, and you have the multi-pro tailgate on the GMC. Both do exactly the same thing. There are no differences in terms of how they function. They both have the little grab bar so you can help hoist yourself inside of the vehicle. They both have the steps on the back corner of the bumpers, even though I have been noticing some Ultimate Edition Denalis that have a much smaller step in the back, and I have to figure out why that might be. Aside from that, though, very similar in the back. Same rear bumper, same exhaust, At least I believe, yeah. The exhaust looks pretty much identical on both trucks. The body lines are very similar from this back area, but you can see Chevy rounds their fenders, whereas GMC kind of squares off their fenders a little bit more. But the changes that you're going to notice the most, and these are big changes, are going to take place inside of both of these trucks, and really just the front dash area. But let's look at that. So when you look at the doors, they are pretty much the same. There's not a heck of a lot of differences. The type of wood trim they use in the Chevy is a darker tone wood, but it's high gloss, whereas the GMC uses a lighter tone wood that is a flat material. You have a two-tone door in the Chevy versus just one solid black or charcoal door in the GMC, but you have the Denali badging right here, and there's no Chevrolet badging. As far as the Bose speakers and all of that, everything else is pretty much the same. The stitching does look a little bit different here on the GMC versus the stitching on the Chevy. This is basically a single stitch, and then on the GMC you're going to have, you know, multiple stitching, plus you're going to have this really interesting kind of cross pattern stitching here, and you have more of an overlap stitching right here. So definitely some differences there, but the key difference that people will probably tune in is the two-tone, the fact that you have contrasting tones here and you don't really have contrasting tones on the GMC. Now, as we look at the dash area of the Chevrolet, this is where things become completely different. So first of all, you have this really beautiful kind of accent right here. This is gorgeous. I love the way it looks on both sides. The dash is beautifully laid out in the Chevy. And this is an area where I think the Chevy definitely one-ups the GMC. As far as your controls on this side are pretty much the same. You have a vent right here, which is designed to defog your glass, but it's hidden whenever you're inside of the vehicle, so you don't see it, which looks really, really nice, and it makes it look nice and sophisticated. The steering wheel is very similar to the steering wheel that's in the GMC. The gauge cluster and the infotainment screen themselves are also the same gauge cluster and infotainment system you're going to see on the GMC. But where things definitely get different are when you look in this space right here. The fact is, this is completely designed different than the GMC. You have an entirely different type of layout. On the GMC, which you'll see in a second, they put the AC vents above the nav screen, or this large infotainment screen. The screen is set down further. These piano keys right here are placed lower, and the AC controls are placed above them. Plus, on the Chevy, you have this beautiful wood accent that kind of separates your piano keys from your AC controls, and I really, really like that. Also, the trailer brake controller is right here versus the GMC, which places it on the actual center console. So there's some differences there. And the start-stop button is an entirely different look versus that kind of rectangular, edgy button that you're going to see in the GMC in a second. But the interior has lots of contrasting tones, a lot of two-tones going on here. And I think it looks beautiful, especially with this gorgeous wood trim that spans this half of the dash. It just looks really, really nice. They did a great job. Overall, I feel as if the Chevy kind of executes on the luxury side of the interior better than the GMC. They even give you a little bit more room here for things. So the GMC puts its trailer brake control button right here. They give you some space right here. They give you a larger little storage area up front here, but the rest of it maintains pretty much the same design. Your wireless phone charger would be in this space. Then you have some beautiful wood accent right here and some more storage on the side. But let's hop inside of the GMC so you can see what it's all about. Okay, so as we get into the GMC, I took our pillow or cushion off of the seat. We use these cushions. I picked them up on Amazon. They make a world of difference in terms of the seat comfort down here on the GMC truck. The seats themselves, though, definitely have a bit more of a fancier stitching design to them than the Chevy. They say Denali on the back here, and again, you can see that same kind of cross-stitching pattern right here. And the seats themselves, again, have a bit of a different design to them, mainly because these seats are heated and ventilated versus just having heated seats in this version of the Chevy. You can get heated and ventilated seats on the Chevy as well in a slightly higher trim. But when we look at the interior, things are a little different. First of all, we are going to have more features in this truck. So we have the heads-up display, which is really nice. We have the camera rear view mirror, which is also really nice. But if you have a Chevy with similar features, then you will likely have controls in a similar place. These controls, which are your four-wheel drive controls, as well as your lighting controls, are all in the same place. Your parking button is right here for your parking brake. The vents and your dash, entirely different than the Chevy. Things are totally different looking in here. You don't have that really innovative kind of notched area right here with the vent on the side. These are more like gloss black with kind of this silver tone material right here. Again, I really feel as if the Chevy has the more luxurious looking interior, even though it doesn't have some of the double stitching and some of the features. But just the fact that they were able to hide this vent in that bezel right there is really, really nice with the Chevy. You have the same gauge cluster pretty much, same steering wheel. We put this little wood trim on here. I just picked this up because there was none on the truck, and I hate wearing out the top of the steering wheel, but this is aftermarket. Steering wheel itself is very, very similar, except for the center design right here, to the Chevy. But where things really change are this space right here. So you have an infotainment system that's pretty much the same infotainment system you're getting in the Chevy, except it's sitting up higher. Your AC vents are then moved to the side, and you have that storage pocket behind the screen, which is really nice. For me, what I've learned to do with my glasses and things is I just set them in this little space right here. And it seems to work okay until you hit a bump and it flies off. That's just a magnetic phone holder, so don't worry about that. That was added by me. The wood in here is also a little bit different, and I actually prefer the way it looks in the Chevy, where they put that beautiful piece of high gloss wood between the AC controls and the piano keys. Speaking of AC and piano keys, your AC controls on the Chevy are placed lower down here, and your piano keys are placed higher up here, which gives you the ability to have that really beautiful piece of wood trim going through. And I definitely can appreciate that look. I really like the way that that look is. The trailer brake controller on the Chevrolet is mounted up here. On the GMC, it's mounted right here. You don't have that little storage area, and this pocket seems a little bit larger in the Chevy, mainly because you don't have these piano keys sticking out that kind of take up some of that space. But the interiors are dramatically different, and that may be enough for some folks to be swayed from one to the other and to make a purchasing decision based off of that. I really like the way the Chevy did the interior of their truck, and like I said, arguably I like the way it looks better than what we have here with our GMC Denali. Again, we have more features with this truck because it's a higher trim truck than the Chevy Silverado. However, the Chevy Silverado is definitely leaning more towards off-road inspiration, giving you the Rancho shocks, the Z71 Trailboss package. But what's your opinion? I would love to know. The back seats on both trucks are pretty much the same in terms of carrying over from what they're doing with the front seat to the back. The legroom, all of that's going to be identical. You can even see that the rear view mirrors are identical. The GMC Denali that we have does have heated rear seats versus the Chevy not having them. Again, this is mainly because of the package that we have. This is an LT package. If it were a higher trim package, you may not be able to get the Trailboss. You could probably still get in a Z71 package, but then you could opt for things like heated and cooled seats, or heated rear seats and heads-up display and some of those other features, especially if you go up to your like LTZ or your high country packages. But please leave a comment below. From an overall looks perspective, which truck do you prefer? Right, the GMC definitely has more of that, I'm going to say, upscale, elegant look to it, that front end that is very bold and very GMC Denali, whereas the Chevy has a more kind of aggressive, in-your-face, I can go off-roading and kick your butt all day look to it. But then again, there's a lot of folks who are going to be swayed one way or another because they prefer the way the Chevy looks on the outside versus the GMC, even though a lot of similarities exist with both trucks. I'd love to know your opinion. Please drop a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.